Good afternoon and welcome to ZTN News Blitz. A look at our top stories. COVID-19 malaria dilemma for Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe schools plan for the worst during COVID-19 era. SA allows cigarette sales as lockdown restrictions are eased. And in sport, Zim high jump champion calls for junior support. Zimbabwe, currently in its malaria peak season, is facing a double burden of the mosquito-borne disease and COVID-19. Health and Child Care Minister Dr. Obadiah Moyo said the COVID-19 pandemic has potential to reverse the gains made in malaria control over the years. Minister Moyo said health workers will simultaneously test for COVID-19 and malaria in all malaria-prone zones. Zimbabwe, currently on lockdown as it grapples to contain the spread of COVID-19, has recorded over 130 malaria deaths since January. The country has since tested 5,450 people for COVID-19, recording 29 cases and 4 deaths.
Simultaneously do the COVID-19 testing together with the malaria testing. We can also train them to be able to test for COVID-19, so that we deal with the one individual, one case, we take care of the two conditions at the same time.
Still with the virus, Zimbabwe's second schooling term hangs in the balance as it is unclear if authorities will extend the country's lockdown. The country's first schooling term ended a week early when authorities announced a 21-day total shutdown. The second term is supposed to start in the first week of May, whereas the lockdown extension ends on May 3. Primary and Secondary Education Minister Kane Matema says they are planning for the worst.
In fact, this is why we're going to be opening studios at Montrose, not at Montrose, but in Bulawayo, and then as well as in Mountles. And we're also seeking assistance from other countries. That, like for instance, China is already over 200 million children. Learners are on or online learning, but we're preparing the teachers as well. We're preparing materials. If Corona goes on for the next 5 years, we're saying we'll be ready for that. We're doing that. All we're doing is we're preparing ourselves, and we don't want to be pushed by those who keep on saying postpone exams in June. Nobody has said there will be exams in June, because I work according to instructions, like I've said before, from the president. Yeah. Even if you postpone them, we can postpone them even for the next 5 years. But all I'm saying is that the Minister of Education, Primary and Secondary Education, is ready for any eventuality. Okay. But our children must learn. But then, once we involve this or online learning, we expect therefore parents to participate as well fully.
Now, Africa may have itself to blame if it fails to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. This was said by Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa at State House on Thursday. He said, unlike Asia, Europe and America, which were affected first by the pandemic, Africa was given an opportunity to adequately prepare.
The takeaway from that conference was that Africa has been given a window of opportunity to prepare itself far much more than other countries who were struck quickly and had not had much opportunity to prepare to mitigate the impact of the pandemic. If we fail to mitigate the impact of the pandemic, it is not because we don't know what to do. Two possibilities. We have no resources to do what we ought to do. Or secondly, we are so stupid we are not able to react quickly. You can take whichever position you want.
Well-wishers have come to the aid of Zimbabweans struggling to fend for their families owing to the COVID-19-induced lockdown in South Africa. Our correspondent in South Africa, Bongani Siziva, witnessed over 100 Zimbabweans receiving food packs from African Medallion Group representative Itai Maunganize.
African Medallion Group today is helping the Zimbabwean community within South Africa, within Johannesburg. We've identified a group of people that cannot afford to buy food supplies, especially now given the lockdown. People can't get jobs, people are anxious, everybody is a bit nervous as to where the next meal is going to come from. So we've listened to the community and we've come today to assist where we can.
One of the beneficiaries, Mxolisi Ngube, speaks.
Some people somewhere saw it's fit to come and assist, because as for myself, I'm a self-employed person. I cannot move around during this lockdown, and this comes into, to plug the gap that has been there, because I'm somebody who needs to wake up every day and try to look for something to put in, on the table for my children every now and then.
And Zim SA community spokesperson Bongani Mkwananzi speaks.
We call upon any other well-wishers who want to come to the aid of the people at this very difficult time to come. A lot of Zimbabweans are facing a serious crisis at this period due to the COVID-19 virus.
Now, for some silver lining, Zimbabwe's biggest ethanol producer, Green Fuel, has started producing alcohol-based sanitizers for regional export. Green Fuel is already supplying sanitizers to local hospitals and clinics, as well as a number of organizations involved in the fight against the pandemic. Human Resources Manager Andrew King said the company is now waiting for an export permit after making the necessary applications.
So it's in that context that we would humbly request that the VP and the Interministerial Committee grant us the permission to export our sanitizer and help us not only generate foreign currency for our manufacturing side, but also assist these other SADC countries with their fights with COVID-19. Thank you.
The Zimbabwe Revenue Authority says it is looking into waiving some tax penalties and interest for defaulting firms in the wake of business disturbances that resulted from the national lockdown. Commissioner General of tax collecting body Faith Mazani said while her agency is mainly an advisor to Treasury, an analysis has been conducted to determine where an olive branch would be extended. This comes as business has appealed for Treasury to extend tax deadlines and waiver penalties.
What we need to understand is that as ZIMRA, we are an administrator, so we implement what has been put into law or what has been pronounced by the policy makers. But what I wanted to just emphasize and where our advisory role comes in is we have tried to do an analysis in terms of which taxes are the major contributors, and our taxes are mainly coming from 6-7 main tax heads. The issue of the interest and penalties, let me say that we have to look at it from two angles. There is interest and penalties ZIMRA can administratively waive, and that we will consider and implement administratively, just like we are giving the extensions and the like for returns, which would otherwise have attracted penalties. But there are other interests which are statutory for income tax purposes, for example.
Amidst war and strife, one can afford a chuckle or even a bout of laughter to ease stress and pressure. Some scientists even suggest laughter helps boost one's immune system. On Thursday, popular comedian Timothy Tabfumaneya of the Timina Bonzo fame provided some comic relief to President Mnangagwa and his team away from the pressure of fighting COVID-19.
Number 15. Because the tine birthday party next week. Hansi? Yeah, all right, ndina president. Ningi pane nyama yatakatenga nezuro 350 kgs the beef. Ngairaswe nyama yagarisa. Okay, bye-bye.
Up next, Donald Trump suggests injection of disinfectant to treat coronavirus.
During this COVID-19 crisis, join Access Forex in delivering food to the underprivileged in our communities. Let's take action. Join the Feed a Million Challenge. Let every Zimbabwean have food on their table. Access Forex, helping you take care of home. Visit www.feedamillion.co.zw. Access Forex, bringing you closer to home.
South Africa has announced an easing of some lockdown restrictions beginning next month, citing economic concerns. But President Cyril Ramaphosa warned that most people should remain at home, public gatherings remain banned, and the country's borders will stay closed. From 1 May, some businesses will be allowed to reopen, and a third of their employees can return to work. Tough rules have even seen a ban on cigarette sales, but that will be lifted. Alcohol sales remain banned. Some schools will also reopen, but with strict limits likely on class sizes. Moving on, President Donald Trump spoke about the use of ultraviolet light to fight the virus and the injectable disinfectant that would clean one's lungs. Trump's brief remarks about futuristic-sounding technology came after Department of Homeland Security Acting Under Secretary William Bryan addressed research and development at Thursday's White House Coronavirus Task Force briefing.
I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do, either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs, so it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with, but it sounds interesting to me.
In sport, Zim high jump champion calls for junior support.
The world is under attack. No place is safe from COVID-19. Not even our beloved Zimbabwe. To complement government efforts in the fight against this pandemic, NASA, which falls under the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, has availed 2 facilities for utilization in combating the deadly virus. The Beitbridge Hotel will be used as a transit isolation center for returning residents from South Africa. Travelers will be required to quarantine for the designated 21 days at the center in our bid to monitor and contain the virus from spreading further. Ekuseni Treatment Center joins the various treatment centers set up nationwide for patients undergoing treatment for COVID-19. NASA has taken a step further by providing our pensioners with a once-off bonus equivalent to a month's pay. And we have also taken it upon ourselves to fix the ventilator at the Mutare General Hospital to kickstart treatment and help save lives. The fight against COVID-19 is our fight. Help keep Zimbabwe safe. Help save lives. NASA, ours is a lifelong promise.
In sports, Zimbabwe senior men's national champion and record holder in high jump, Munyaradzi Chadenga, believes that there is need to help athletes transition from school to be professionals. Munyaradzi, who also works with schools and admits that there is a huge potential, is one of many athletes grounded due to COVID-19.
There is need for Zimbabwe to realize that potential as early as possible and develop the athletes as soon as possible. And so what's needed is proper structures for the kids. What are proper structures? It means a safe haven for them. After school, where are they going? Do they have a club to go to? Is there a gym that they need to attend? All those things should be taken into account. So the potential is there, but what's thinking now is of infrastructures.
Zimbabwe's representative in the next edition of the Confederation of African Football's Confederation Cup is yet to be confirmed after Highlanders turned down the offer. Highlanders secured the ticket to play in the inter-club tournament after winning the Zimbabwe Shibuku Super Cup last year. But due to budget constraints, they give up their slot. The Confederation Cup is set to kick off in August, provided that the football action is resumed in time to finish the 2019-2020 season. Now, Cameroon's Football Federation, FECAFOOT, has promised around $88,000 to 1,040 players and coaches in the country's domestic championships affected by the suspension of football due to coronavirus. The funds will go to 44 clubs, with 18 from Cameroon's top-tier league, 14 from the second division and 12 from the women's domestic championship. Each team will receive $2,000 US. And that's all we had for you on News Blitz. Pleasant weekend.